So rare be the day that I make a non-gaming related video on this channel, but I feel like that I want to get my opinion across on this particular instance because this is a strange one to say the least. So we're going to be taking a look at a religious channel today named Ace Family. Oh no wait, this isn't Austin McBrew, I'm sorry. This is Christ Righteous Ministries, or CRministries, or whatever he's probably going to be going by the time this video is uploaded, because he's rebranded himself quite a few times from what I know. Today we're going to be looking at him because I feel like he makes claims that are quite suspicious, to say the least. And he just comes off as an asshole. I'm going to say that straight up. He comes off as an asshole, and he 100% is an asshole, as I will show in this video. But I got myself 10 videos from him. I haven't watched a single one of them, and I'm going to respond to them as I watch them. This is probably going to end terribly for the editing process, so good luck, future me. Future me here, this sucked. To explain my stance on religion and spirituality a little bit before delving in, I want to say I hate both positions. They're stupid. Religion is a good scam created way early back in the days to get people to believe in something that has no proof behind it, but all for that little gain of power. It is no secret that religion was used as a tool to control and to spin a narrative for decades and centuries even. It is no secret there. So the fact that we still even have it today in a world where we are as industrial as we are and scientifically minded because it makes people feel good, I find it frankly ridiculous. I think that people should look for other ways to make themselves happy instead of saying, okay, well this life doesn't matter, so once I die, that's when life will matter. It's just ridiculous. However, I do see a use for religion. It keeps the people on the right track who believe that if there was no God, they would go around raping and murdering people. So, thank God for that, huh? And that's one of my problems with CRministries. He comes off as one of those people who, if proven tomorrow that there was no God without a shadow of a doubt, proof, he would be one of those people who would probably go around trying to rape and murder and steal. He just comes off as one of those guys that would do that. And from his attitude and the way he goes about arguing about the position of a god, I wouldn't be surprised if that is how he thinks. But enough rambling. Let's listen to some Christ Righteous, shall we?
Jesus Christ, I'm super tired. I just finished actually recording a gameplay for my new gaming channel.
Oh, you have a gaming channel? So do I. I feel like mine's a little bit better though.
Right there. This is Spider-Man. First of all, the game is actually dang dope. I like it a lot. But yeah, as you guys can see by the title, this is just a quick response, okay?
Quick response? This video is 34 minutes long. That's not quick. That's half an hour.
Listen, I know a lot of atheists have been wanting to reason with me, discuss things with me.
You're making it sound like reasoning with somebody is wrong. That's not a good thing that you're taking that position.
I've already been taking the time apart aside from coming live and having live dialogues and conversations or debates to talk to people individually. If anybody wants to have a discussion with me individually, you are more than welcome to.
Except now, where you will be blocked by him if you try to reach out to him to have a discussion of any kind. You want to be mean to him? Blocked. You want to be nice to him? Blocked. You want to have a civil conversation? Blocked. You want to have an uncivil conversation? Blocked. He will block you for the dumbest shit.
I have been very busy working on a lot of different things. I actually updated my book.
Ah, the book of plagiarism, huh? We'll get to that in a minute.
God is. It's been doing pretty swell. I actually took it off of Debunking because I wanted to end up being a individual seller myself.
Hi, Future Mercer here. When you see cuts like this, it is not me cutting out arguments, it is me cutting out empty space, because this video is already long enough. I do not need his empty space making this an hour and a half long, just to let you know. While I get that sentiment as a person who also wants to be an author, Lulu.com, from what I know, is a publishing site. They don't really like take a lot to publish a book. They are pretty lenient, actually. You have a lot of freedom there. So, how are you going to be better than them at selling your book to people? I don't see the logic there.
There's been a few changes to the book. This is for all the people out there who, such as the atheists and skeptics out there, for those people who are spreading false conspiracy and lies and stuff like that for the book.
Bro, your book was literally written by Frank Turek and other creationist authors. There's no lies to be spread. Everything that everybody has said about your book, 100% true. 100%.
I decided to emphasize some things in the book. I didn't make changes within the book because the book is fine. Everything's fine. There's, credit has been given to every other author that I've elaborated off of.
You see, that shouldn't even have to be a revision, like maybe missing one or two names, sure, maybe. But the fact that you had nobody listed in the first draft? I won't even call it a first draft. It was the first actual printout of the book, and you didn't have any single name written down. You just plagiarized everybody. How am I supposed to believe you now?
So the book itself is fine, but I had to add a few things so I can kind of emphasize to people. It's almost like I'm screaming at your face in the first page. It's this page right here. As you guys can see, I pretty much just kind of explain like that. This is an elaboration book of other projects that I've read. There are many arguments used from different apologists that I had expounded upon in further details. The concept of this book is intended to add to arguments presented by the great names mentioned. That is the intention of the book.
Okay, your intention and what you did, though, are very different. Whenever you put in plagiarized sentences, plagiarized arguments, it is, in a way, coming off as if you are trying to make yourself seem smarter. If you know you are plagiarizing and you don't give credit to actually make it like a credible quote or source, you are coming off as, oh, look how smart I am, whether that's the intention or not.
When people think that, okay, I just wrote the book because I was trying to just say that it's everything written in there is my idea. Nowhere in the book do I say it's my idea. No, the intention of the book was to elaborate and expound upon other arguments that were used. Other pieces and parts of different books, like I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, Cold Case Christianity, A Case for Christ, all these different books that I wanted to expand upon.
Your idea of expanding upon what these books say is copy it word for word, and then after it, if you add anything at all that's your own work, you just put in caps and with horrible spelling, mind you, something that makes absolutely no sense. That is not expanding upon an argument. That is stating an argument and then be like, see, I'm right because this argument looks really good.
A lot of people don't get that though.
I can't imagine why not.
A lot of people don't get that. Do I regret writing a book like this because it has really gotten a lot of misunderstanding? Not really. I wish I could have been a lot more clear to people, but I don't regret it because there's nothing wrong with the book. I mean, we can have angry atheists all day say plagiarism, but I've already had my book reviewed. It's good, it's set.
Angry atheists screaming plagiarism whenever there is plagiarism, they're not really angry. They're being correct, and if they are angry, it's because you are plagiarizing so badly to the point that a middle schooler doing research could actually do a better job at plagiarizing and making it look like it's their own work. Now, if you want to prove that it's not plagiarism, send that book to Frank Turek. Frank Turek will 100% hit you with a copyright claim because you are stealing his book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. 100%. That is almost entirely what your book is. I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, Part 2. Alright, I would say that's enough for this particular video. Let's move on to the next video in the lineup.
Welcome. Fix this real quick.
Okay, this might come off as a bit of a nitpick, but set up your equipment before you record. Okay, I know this is a live stream turned into a video and he's using a phone to do it, but even people who use phones for live streams can set up their phone better than this guy can. 100%. Go look at some live streams done on phones. You'll be surprised.
Welcome guys, welcome back to my channel. Peace and blessings from God our Father and the mighty Lord Jesus Christ. So I'm gonna try to attempt to do this one take. I got my son sleeping right here, so in case he wakes up, I'm gonna have to end the live and attend to him. So
yeah, this guy is a parent, which I guess doesn't surprise me because a lot of people who probably don't deserve to be a parent are also parents. But this guy ragged on another channel by the name of Logic for being a parent and also an atheist and saying you're leading your kid astray. You're gonna send your kid to hell, basically. Which is a lovely sentiment. Thank you very much. Probably sort of thing going on there. But honestly, this guy has a kid and he's still making videos defending an indefensible position. It's insane to me.
I'm gonna try to do this one take. So
noble goal, but don't try and fit things into one take if you can't do that. Please.
well, welcome guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna be doing a personal book review.
I can see absolutely no bias infecting him at all. This is gonna be a really good, legitimate review.
Yes, I'm the one who wrote it. I'm the one who put this project together, so
The book itself is I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist Part 2. That's how plagiarized this book really is.
the review is not going to be like any other review. It's going to be more of just a personal review, how it was writing the book, my idea for this book, what kind of inspired me to write this book, what I used to write this book and stuff like that, and also just the reviews of just the book itself. The book itself, the reviews that I received for this book on Lulu.com.
Which, by the way, they're doctored reviews. Lulu.com has a weird system where you can actually make an account, make a review, but you can also not make an account and then say a review is helpful. And what you can also do is go into an incognito tab, not make an account, say a review is helpful, reload a page, say the review is helpful, reload the page, say the review is helpful, reload the page. So I don't trust Lulu.com's helpful review system.
And just to give you guys an update of other projects that I have coming. So, but yes, so I am the writer and author of God Is.
No, you're fucking not.
God Is a book.
You could say that one again. Look, I don't mean to rag on the whole plagiarism thing for the entire video. I assume at some point one of these videos is not going to be about the damn book. But as an author, myself, or as a writer, I guess, I'm not really an author quite yet. But as a writer myself, I can agree that I have gotten inspiration from some stories for particular systems of like magic or story beats or something. But I actually tend to try and reform them into my own thing and not just steal them word for word, beat for beat, you know?
The undeniable truth of reality. The whole world as we know it now has completely removed God from every part of its convenience. Atheists have denied even the most plausible evidence for God, replacing the evidence with ridiculous concepts and theories. What happened to seeking truth? If it's true that God exists, wouldn't you want to know? Do we have actual evidence for God's existence? Or is this a case of the God of the Gaps fallacy? I believe that we have more evidence and even better evidence for God's existence than against him. I believe that an honest investigation through the evidence and a humble observation through the information, we can see that not only does God exist, but he has also revealed himself. The creator of the entire universe made himself known to the whole world. But before we get that far, we must first answer the question, does God exist?
And before we go on, I should mention, this is a constant problem throughout this whole book. Basically, I have a technique that usually works, which is that if a sentence here is well written, by which I don't at all mean well argued, I just mean like it was written by an adult, and I feel in the mood to take the time, I search for the entire sentence in quotes, and oftentimes I'll find it word for word identical online. And when I say often, I mean very, very often. The plagiarism on display here in this book is truly insane.
An actual, numberless infinite is not a countable number. An actual infinite remains the same, even if you add or subtract as many zeros as you want from it. It doesn't change.
So in this first part of the argument, we're talking about the mathematical concept of infinity, and how if you add to or subtract from infinity, it's still infinity. Okay, fine. And now it goes on.
Since the physical universe is always changing, the universe must have had a beginning.
You feel that whiplash? The mathematical infinity doesn't change if you subtract from it. Therefore, the physical universe... And who cares how that sentence ends, because there's nothing to connect up properties of mathematical infinity with the universe itself. Unless he thinks the physical universe is mathematical infinity itself, but it's not, obviously. And even if it were, it still doesn't make sense, because we're not talking about subtracting from or adding to the universe. We're talking about change. Now, that's pretty bad, but I can't really blame him for how spectacularly terrible this argument is, because... well, he just copied the entire thing verbatim from necessaryreason.com. But he didn't just copy this little thing from the article. He copied the entire article verbatim.
Big thanks to Logic for exposing Almando's plagiarism. Link down below for his channel and that video.
So let me tell you guys the little story first. So, basically, I've been studying apologetics for about a year to a year and a half. I think a year and a half.
I think it's safe to say. And there's been a lot of apologetic books that I have read already. The main one that I was reading before I was led to write this book was I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist by Dr. Frank Turek and Norman Geisler. And during the time that I was reading that, there was so many great arguments in there that I felt compelled to want to elaborate to. And there was a lot of places in that book that I was like, man, I wish they added this, or man, they should kind of expand upon this idea and explain more in detail.
I agree, they should have explained in more detail, but they didn't because they're apologists, and apologists are liars. That's going to be the end of that particular clip. Let's move on to the next one we have in our lineup.
You guys can see I'm growing on my facial hair. This is actually the first time I've ever decided to grow on my facial hair, so...
I tend to be more clean shaven myself around the facial area. It's more of a personal gripe, After a while it gets too thick, then you need to go over it more times. Don't have an electric razor, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. All that kind of stuff.
I was like, you know what? I kind of want a beard. Like, full-on facial.
Did you just admit to wanting a facial?
But, what up, guys? I came on here to kind of update you guys as to when the book is going to release.
Here we are about the book again. Fan-fucking-tastic.
And my channel. So, I've been very busy. I've been focusing on the book.
Don't worry, buddy. We know. The book was a success, quotation marks all around, of course. I'm not even going to bother to continue with this video, he's just going to talk about his dumbass little book. So let's move on to the next one.
The fact that Darwinists think that they have reasons to be atheist actually presupposes that God exists.
Goddamn, finally, an actual video not about his plagiarized book. And he makes a dumb argument. What is a Darwinist? Almando, that's his name, by the way. What is a Darwinist? And to address the second part of his claim, no, it doesn't presuppose that God exists, because people can be atheists and then give a reason for it that's complete bullshit. Or some people could give a reason for it that's actually a really good reason. It doesn't presuppose that God exists, though.
Well, how so, you may ask? Because reasons require that this universe be a reasonable one.
Excuse me, what? Your problem is that you're making a cause and effect like argument. You're basically saying that the universe had a reason without explaining how you know the universe has a reason or why it has a reason. You're actually presupposing that the universe has a reason to make your argument. Fucking brilliant.
That presupposes that there is order, logic, design, and truth.
Alright, let's take these one at a time. Order? There is no order. Everything kind of goes around, and there's very little order in the universe whenever you actually look at it. The only thing that actually has order is stuff like genetics, and even then, that doesn't really have an order per se. Logic is not a thing that exists in the universe. Logic is something that we have. We came up with logic. Logic is basically a way of reasoning or assessing according to strict principles of validity. There's no logic in the universe in the same sense that there's logic in a move in a chess game, per se. Design? Well, the universe is clearly not designed. It looks like shit, honestly. Aside from the good visuals, everything else that's around us, uninhabitable. How can it be designed if it's all so uninhabitable? You'd think there would be at least one planet within our range that can actually support life. But no, not even the closest one that can support us, which would be Mars, can actually support life because it's dead. It has a dead core. It cannot support life. People who use design as a reason for why the universe exists often forget that 99.9% of the universe is also just uninhabitable to us. And I'm including planets that can actually sustain us because we cannot go to those planets yet. We do not have the technology to travel a light year or so away from us. It's just not feasible. Truth, just like logic, is something that we created, but at least truth is actually based more on something than logic is. Truth is what the facts are, as Aaron Ra would say. But in all honesty, truth is just our word for saying something that is, well, true. That sounds circular, but that's literally the best way it can be explained. You want to see something that's true? 2 plus 2 equals 4. That is going to be true no matter what. God created the universe? Not true. You can't prove that, so it's not true.
But order, logic, design, and truth can only exist and be known if there is an unchangeable objective source and a standard of such things.
Yeah, to a degree. We created some of those things. We created logic and we created truth. Obviously, we didn't create the things that are true. We created the definition of truth, and we created what it means to have something be true. But aside from that, no. Those things could exist with or without a god. I don't see your point at all.
To say something is unreasonable, Darwinists must know what reasonable is.
To be reasonable is to have sound judgment. It's literally as simple as that.
To say something is not designed, Darwinists must know what designed is.
Yes, Darwinists, quote unquote, know what designed is. Everything that exists in our world at the moment that is not on the molecular level has been designed. Cars, designed. Buildings, designed. Telescopes, designed. Water bottles, designed. Tea bags have been designed. Medicine is designed. Mini fridges are designed. Back scratchers are designed. You can literally point to anything and say that's been designed, but you can't point at the universe and say that it's designed because it also exists. That is logically inconsistent.
And to say something is not true, Darwinists must know what truth is.
If Darwinists mean scientists, they know what the truth is because they studied it, and they have to study it, and they come to those conclusions themselves because of their results, and those results are truths, quote unquote. Scientific truths, of course, because not anything is actually true in the scientific world. Even a theory. A theory is the highest level something can get in science. The most explained something can get can be a theory. And even then, not all theories are 100% true, because 10 years from now, we might be able to come up with a new theory to replace the theory of evolution.
Like all non-theistic worldviews, Darwinist borrows from the theistic worldview.
It does not. Also, you don't even know what Darwinism is, and you're not addressing it in a way to make it known to what you're actually talking about. Also, how can it borrow from theistic views if the default position is not theism?
So as you can tell thus far, we know things are designed, and we know things have order. And of course, all things have purpose.
The only things we know are designed are the things on our planet. And even then, there are things that are not designed. Molecular structure is not designed. DNA and RNA are not designed. Oxygen is not designed. Okay? Also, as I stated previously, some things are ordered, some things are not. A lot of the world is not ordered, I will say that. Does a pet rock have a purpose? Does a pet rock have a purpose? If you say yes to that, you're an idiot. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. Does a rusted over sword have a purpose? You can't do anything with it, so does it have a purpose? Is a abandoned building purposeful? Does it have a purpose? No, it does not, because it is abandoned and it is run down. So what the fuck is that purpose then?
That knowledge is grounded in the human intellect.
Knowledge is learned, okay? It is learned. It is not grounded in our brains. Knowledge is something that is learned. We do not have all knowledge, otherwise we would be the same as your God.
But atheism denies the facts, and they attempt to refute the points.
I'm pretty sure you can't say that when your book literally talks about giants and God coming down to wrestle people and a guy coming back to life and a donkey talking back to its owner without the owner thinking, huh, that's weird that this donkey's fucking talking back to me.
They have to steal from God in order to argue against him.
I have heard this argument time and time again whenever I've heard creationists and apologists talk, and my only response is, whose God am I stealing from? Is it yours? Because your God's a stolen idea. The Christians stole from the Jewish people, and then they tried to make their God so unique. But your God's not unique. You stole it from the Jewish people. So whose God am I stealing from?
Here are 5 things grounded in human nature that are aligned with order, logic, design, and truth. Intellect, meaning conceptual thought.
Intellect isn't designed, dude. It's not how that works. How do you design intellect? Why don't you go design some intellect yourself and then come back to me on that one, okay?
Freedom to choose, meaning free will.
By your own religion's logic, you do not have free will. God created you knowing exactly what you would do, exactly when you would do it, had all the power to stop you, and didn't. You do not have free will in Christianity, because God knows everything. You cannot have free will if a being is watching over you and knows every single outcome that you will ever have in your life up until the day you die. There's no free will there.
Ethical responsibilities, meaning standards.
That's just morality, my guy, and morality does not need a god.
Moral accountability, meaning obligations.
Morals are like the same thing as ethics. You didn't have to separate them.
Lastly, inalienable rights of personhood.
The fuck does that mean? Like, genuinely, I'm not just being a dumbass, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Now, if anybody was to disagree with the standard, they'd be doing the following. That person would be engaging me in conceptual thought, as in the first. That person would be exercising his or her freedom to do so, as in the second. That person must think that there is an ethical responsibility to teach what is right or true, as in the third. That person would be seeking to hold me morally accountable to teach the truth, as in the fourth. Lastly, that person has the right to disagree with my position.
No, that's not true. I can disagree with every single point of yours because I don't need to have morality or ethics, as you would put it, to have to teach somebody what I think is right or wrong. I don't care. Everybody's gonna be a dick, okay? That's just how the world works. I don't need morality to be able to argue against your point. I just have to have more knowledge than you do, which is something that you learn, Almando.
So if anyone were to disagree with these criteria, that person would actually confirm the validity of each point of these criteria. So with a little bit of critical thinking, we see the Darwinian worldview collapse. So intellect, free will, objective morality, and human rights, as well as reason, logic, design, and truth only exist if God exists.
Assuming for the moment that Darwinism and evolution are supposed to be the exact same thing in your argument, which on one point is fucking stupid. 2, evolution is the most well-supported theory in science right now, so to disprove that, you're going to have to come up with something better, buddy, and you're not doing that. You're arguing for God. No matter what that book of yours says, God is not going to be more real just because you yell it louder.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. It's been a minute since I uploaded a video, since I made a video, but I've been very busy. I've been taking a Christian course, apologetics, and I've been studying this new book that I just got. Many of you Christians out there might have this book. It's a very popular book, and I feel like it's a necessity for all Christians to have. It's called Tactics by Gregory Kokel.
I haven't read it. I don't care to read it. And I think it's funny that you're taking a class on apologetics when it's so easy to be an apologist. All you have to do is lie for your religion. And this is another video about the damn book. I'm not going to talk about more books by more liars, okay? We're moving on to the next one.
Now, what is love according to the Bible?
According to the Bible, love is creating a thing that has no knowledge about what it's doing and then saying, don't eat from this fruit that I'm specifically putting here, knowing that you're going to eat it, and then whenever they eat it, you get really mad at them and then set them on a path of death. That's love in the Bible.
Here's what 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says.
That was a fascinating reading, but I don't really care what 1 Corinthians says, because I don't care what your book says, Almando.
Now, my question is to you. Have you been loving your neighbor?
Fuck my neighbor. Neighbor's a piece of shit.
Have you been loving your brothers and sisters?
Fuck my siblings. My siblings are pieces of shit.
Have you loved people enough to sacrifice your comfort by letting people know the dangers of sin?
I love my friends enough to let them know that I would actually sacrifice something for them. But I would not sacrifice something that doesn't exist for them. I would make a real sacrifice if I needed to for my friends. But that's not something you would do, because you care only about yourself.
Or have you been avoiding discomfort just to satisfy their wants and desires?
Don't talk to me like I'm the one who's avoiding responsibility about something. You're the guy who believes in the fairy tale.
You see here in verse 5 it says, love is not self-seeking. Love is not always about seeking comfort for ourselves, but rather the discomfort of being truthful and helping others. Because most times we fear of making the other person feel uncomfortable.
You're the guy who's also going around telling people that they're going to hell if they don't believe. And hell's not a good place. Hell's not something you should be defending. Sorry, but if you think hell is a thing that you should be defending, maybe you should go there yourself, bucko.
Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth.
Love is, from my point of view, whenever you experience something towards either a partner, or your friends, or your family, or anyone else, a strong feeling of wanting to be around them, and you are willing to give up anything to help them out. That is what love is to me. I would sacrifice a lot to be able to help out my friends. And there's been times where I've considered it, but there's just nothing that I could sacrifice that would help them out. Because you also gotta think about that. You can't just sacrifice something of your life. I can't just sacrifice my PlayStation 4 and give my friend like a house to live in, you know, while he's coming out of college or something. I can't just do that because that's not reasonable. It has to be a sacrifice that actually means something. It actually has to go through. You can't just sacrifice something and be like, oh, okay, that's my sacrifice, I love you. No, you can't just do that. That's a cop-out.
Now when you truly love somebody, you want to pull them away from the lies, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, because you always want to rejoice in the truth. 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, let all that you do be done in love, speaking truth and caring for and protecting those whom you love, even if it's uncomfortable for both you and that person. Love is the greatest commandment. 1 John 4:8 says, anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 Peter 4:8 says, above all, keep loving each other earnestly, because love covers a multitude of sins. Here's what Jesus says in John 15:13, no one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends. Are you willing today to lay down your life for your friends, putting aside your comfort for someone else's life? Love is the greatest commandment. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. I hope you guys enjoyed today's word, and I really hope that you listen to the word and what the Spirit has to say.
Listen, man, I don't want your Holy Spirit. I don't care about the Holy Spirit. I don't even know, even though I've researched a lot about the Bible, I don't even know if I know what the Holy Spirit even fucking is, okay? I don't want your Holy Spirit in my life. Piss off. What's really uncomfortable is you giving your audience bedroom eyes whenever you're talking about a book that has a whole lot of rape and torture in it. It must be real convenient to be able to classify a deity that has all the power in the universe and all the knowledge in the universe, and yet still sets you on a path of failure as love. That would be as if I had a kid. I knew exactly what was going to happen in that kid's life, and then I set them on a path knowing they would become a drug addict and commit suicide later down the road. And that would just make me such a loving parent, wouldn't it? That'd make me such a loving guy. So does love thy neighbor also apply to those people who are like neighbors with gay people or black people, and then they go out like accusing them of some stupid shit over their skin color or love preference? Yeah, love thy neighbor really helped us out. Remember how abortion is now starting to become illegal again? Yeah, really love thy neighbor there. Your neighbor is pregnant and your neighbor can't handle that? Fuck them. Let them have the baby. It doesn't matter. Your neighbor's gay and they just exist? Fuck them. Let them get HIV. Pray for that. Your neighbor's a black guy who is doing well for himself? Fuck him. Hope he gets sent to prison for some undisclosed reason. Is that what Christian love really is? Because that seems to be what it is a lot in this country. And I'm gonna say, I don't really like it. Alright, we got 4 more videos lined up, and they're all very short, so let's start knocking them out.
Now, Muslims have made some strange claims.
I think everybody in their lifetime has made strange claims. You can't just single out one particular religious group and say they made strange claims, especially when you basically believe the exact same thing they do, but just a white-skinned version instead of a brown-skinned version.
Such as that Jesus was never crucified on the cross.
I mean, he wasn't. Not the Jesus you believe in. There was probably a Jesus back in the day that the biblical Jesus was based off of, who might have been crucified, but if that's the case, he didn't rise from the dead.
In fact, a substitute took Jesus' place on the cross. Now, how does this fit the historical documents and the eyewitness accounts?
Bro, who cares about eyewitness accounts? Eyewitness accounts are the second least reliable evidence you could ever have for claiming something. The only thing worse than that is hearsay.
This is what Surah 4, 157 through 158 says. So according to the Quran, it only appears that Jesus was crucified and taken up to Allah. Now there is a number of problems with this theory.
It's not a theory, it's scripture.
Such as the disciples, the Roman guards, Pilate, the Jews, Jesus' family, were all mistaken of who was actually crucified on the cross.
The disciples did not even write their own books named after them. And the Roman guards are inconsistent in all the books named after the disciples that even mention the tomb. So there's inconsistencies within your own story. The only 4 sure people we know existed at the time was Pilate and the Jews. And we only know that the Jews existed because they exist now and your religion is stolen from them.
How could so many people be wrong about a simple identification?
That's because eyewitness accounts suck to have. If you're going up in some sort of trial, or if you're going up for any evidence, eyewitnesses are not reliable because memory is fallible.
This is like saying Abraham Lincoln wasn't really the one killed next to his wife in 1865.
No, it is not, because Abraham Lincoln was a real person that we can prove 100% existed, and at 100% he was shot in the back of the head. Jesus we could not prove existed, and much less be provable that he actually was crucified and then rose from the dead. It is not at all like Abraham Lincoln.
Now, was Mary Lincoln mistaken about who was killed? Were the bodyguards of Abraham Lincoln wrong about who they were guarding?
No, they were not. They knew exactly who was killed and by who. The reason why we don't compare Abraham Lincoln to Jesus is because Abraham Lincoln is real. Abraham Lincoln had an impact on the world. He had an impact on the way we see racial segregation today. Jesus had no impact because Jesus is a fictional character.
Now let's just say it wasn't Jesus. How do you explain the empty tomb?
There was none.
Are we to believe that the substitute of Jesus rose from the dead?
Hey man, you believe what you want, but it's all the same wacky bullshit to me.
If so, how did he do it?
How did Jesus do it?
And what are we to make about the Jewish admission of Jesus' death? Was the Jewish Talmud mistaken for saying that Jesus was hung on a tree at the eve of the Passover? In short, are we to believe that everyone from the first century was wrong about everything?
Maybe those people from the first century should have thought about documenting what was going on in a more reliable way, and in a way that wouldn't be completely eroded by the time we were able to get it. Maybe they should have thought of that, but they didn't, because they were kind of stupid. and also it didn't happen.
That's a very heavy claim. One has to question the theory that comes more than 600 years after the events, especially when these claims are pretty much telling you not to believe everything that was told from the first century. That's a pretty big claim from a lack of evidence.
Whereas you believe that Jesus is real because of a book that said he was real? Interesting. Well, I'm gonna take the theories of what other people say over your retarded little book, okay? Also, you know you and the Muslims can both be wrong, right? Now, this video was titled, Admiring God's Perfect Hand in Creation. First off, you're presupposing that God exists. That's completely natural for you at this point. You don't know how to do anything correctly, so why would I even bother to debunk that? Second off, none of the creatures are perfect. Those seagulls, they're not perfect. The water that you just saw on that beach, not perfect. Sorry, it's not perfect. The little thing that you got at the end there, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, not perfect. It's 100% not perfect. That is the only perfect thing about that, is that it's not perfect. So, nice try. Also, good Minecraft music. Did you plagiarize that too?
Question. What would the evidence have to look like, meaning intelligent design, to be true?
That's a hard one, because intelligent design was ruled unscientific and not true in a court of law. So everything that was used in that court case, you can't use for evidence for intelligent design.
How about these 3 points? 1. A universe that exploded into being out of nothing.
Not how the universe is thought to have come, but okay, pop off.
2. A universe with over 100 fine-tuned, life-enabling constants for this tiny remote planet we called Earth.
It's not fine-tuned. What about life is fine-tuned? The fact that if we don't take a piss within the amount of time, with like 5 hours, our bladder explodes and we just fucking die? Is that fine-tuned? What about waste? Why do we have to constantly get rid of waste? That's not fine-tuned. A fine-tuned being would have no reason to ever have to expel waste. What about diseases? Are diseases fine-tuned into killing living creatures? Why would a loving God create diseases, huh? What about cancer? Is cancer fine-tuned? Why would God create that? That's some shit right there.
And 3. Life that A. has been observed to arise only from existing life,
We see that every day.
meaning it has never been observed to arise spontaneously.
No one says it does.
B. consists of thousands and even millions of volumes of empirically detectable specified complexity, and is, therefore, more than just the non-living chemicals it contains.
The fuck does that even mean?
C. changes cyclically and only within a limited range.
So, evolution. You just described evolution right there in point C.
D. cannot be built or modified gradually. Other words, is irreducibly complex.
No, it's not. We make things that affect our bodies all the time. Probiotics in medicine affect our bodies. Sure, we don't build new fucking limbs. Oh wait, except we do that too. They're called prosthetics.
E. is molecularly isolated between basic types, meaning there's no ancestral progression at the molecular level.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, and I don't think he does either.
And F. leaves a fossil record of fully formed creatures that appear suddenly, do not change, and then disappear suddenly.
What? The fossil record shows us that evolution is indeed a thing that happens. Things don't just appear randomly and then start disappearing suddenly. Things just change into more advanced versions of those things. They don't just appear suddenly, disappear.
Now, an honest look at these facts suggests that creation, not macroevolution, is true.
No, it's not. Creation's not true. Macroevolution has been proven time and time again, but your small-brained idiocy will not allow you to see that because you are shilling for a book about torture and rape of humankind by an all-loving, all-powerful deity. Well, I think your deity's a piece of shit.
So atheists have to work really hard not to conclude the obvious. Seems like they have to have a lot more faith than we do.
The obvious is that God just doesn't exist. I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's really what the obvious looks like. Glad you say faith is a bad thing. On the other hand, though, I don't need faith because I can trust in the evidence because I'm not a fucking brain-dead individual. We are finally on to his last video that I have for us today. Let's take a look at it and respond to it.
Now, looking at the lines of arguments that we have reviewed, like the cosmological argument, the teleological argument, and the argument for morality,
all of those arguments suck, by the way.
we are now able to know beyond reasonable doubt that a theistic God exists.
No, not at all. Just because you bring up a really shitty, easily disprovable argument, and you think that it actually means something, doesn't mean that your God exists. Sorry.
Now let's just summarize the three arguments that we went through. So now looking from the cosmological argument, we know that God is self-existent, timeless, non-spatial, immaterial, and since he created time, space, and matter, he must be outside of time, space, and matter. In other words, he is without limits. That is, he is infinite.
You can't have a being be spaceless and timeless and create space and time. That's not how it works. If you're outside of space and time, then you don't exist.
Now point 2, he is unimaginably powerful since he created the entire universe out of nothing.
Something can't come from nothing, idiot. Explain that. Oh, you can't? Okay, then your God doesn't exist.
And point 3, we know that God is personal since he chose to create a state of nothingness into a time-space material universe.
There was no nothingness to work with. If there was a nothingness, then nothing could have been created. The fact that this has to be explained to you shows that you have not done an ounce of looking deeper into what you believe and looking deeper into the universe and studies on it.
An impersonal force has no ability to make choices.
You're absolutely right. That's why God didn't do anything, because God is nothing.
Now from the teleological argument, we know that God is 1. Supremely intelligent since he designed life and the universe with such incredible complexity and precision.
Precision how? Complex how? To be precise means to be as close as possible to a blueprint or to something else. Where's the blueprint? Where did God leave the blueprint? Also, how is he incredibly intelligent, yet has made all other planets around us inhabitable, and has made this one planet able to be so easily destroyed from climate change? Doesn't sound like a very smart being. In fact, it actually kind of sounds really dumb. Keep talking, you're making your God sound like an idiot.
And 2. Purposeful, since he designed the many forms of life to live in this specific and ordered environment.
If anything, if you read the Bible, the God of the Bible really just made life to suck his own dick. That is really all he made life to do.
Now lastly, looking from the moral argument, we know that God is absolutely morally pure.
Not even remotely. How would you even judge that in the first place? By the Bible's own rule? Well, by the Bible's own word, God is immoral because he has killed people and allowed people to be murdered in his name. God is completely immoral. But you're not going to say that.
He is the unchangeable standard of morality by which all actions are measured.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I am a lot better than your God because I have not killed anybody or had anybody killed under my name. I am a lot better than your God.
This standard includes infinite justice and infinite love.
So, explain to me what's just about sending someone who just doesn't believe in a God to a place where they'll be infinitely tortured. That doesn't sound like the crime is actually worth the punishment. That actually sounds like an over-exaggeration of a punishment. That sounds like going way overboard for a punishment. Sounds like God is just a little angry because he's a little bit of a narcissist.
Now here's the amazing truth about these findings. The theistic God that we have discovered using these scientific and philosophical arguments is consistent with the God of the Bible.
We haven't found a God. There is no scientific or philosophical evidence that shows that there is a God that exists. And if there was, it is certainly not yours.
But we have discovered him without use of the Bible. We have shown that through good reason, science, and philosophy, much can be known about the God of the Bible.
I'm sorry, we don't make scientific discoveries and philosophical discoveries on good reason. We make scientific discoveries on observable, testable evidence. We make philosophical discoveries. We don't, actually. Philosophy is basically just a way to have fun little mind games. You didn't prove anything with those arguments. You just stated them out and be like, the God that I know follows these, so that means that this God is actually true. We didn't actually have to use the Bible, we just used these really bad arguments. That's not how it works. Well, that was just absolutely fucking terrible. I can't believe he thought that was a good enough video to post that it would actually back up any claims of a god, much less his own little sky Nazi. So that's it. That's all the Christ Righteous videos I had in store for you today, and that's all I care to even look at right now. This guy is the epitome of why I think religion is a bad idea even in the modern age. People like him are a lot more prevalent than you think, and I cannot stand their smug attitude and their perpetual want to keep people in the dark ages of knowledge. People like this really just want to see humanity go down. And it's annoying. It's aggravating as all hell. But I guess that's what we get for perpetuating a fairy tale. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.